Thank you to SIGA for the opportunity to be here today. I'd like to acknowledge that this is a joint work with Josh Blumenstock, who's in the back of the room. He's getting his PhD here at Berkeley this year and moving on to University of Washington, Seattle. And Michael Callan, who couldn't be here today, but is a postdoctoral researcher out of UC San Diego and also SIGA affiliated. I'm going to be talking to you today about mobile payments, conflict, and corruption in Afghanistan. And I'll provide a little bit of context for that, but first also to recognize the generous funding support from SIGA, also the Air Force Office of Scientific Research, and the SEPR Private Enterprise and Development in Low-Income Countries Fund. In difficult environments like Afghanistan, firms and bureaucracies face incredible obstacles to transacting. One area this commonly manifests is in the payment of employee wages. Low penetration of banks and limited trust in formal financial institutions mean in a country like Afghanistan, about 3% of the population is actually banked. Thus, employee salary payments take place often by cash. In Afghanistan, you could picture helicopters flying into these areas, sometimes armored cars. Obviously, this involves major problems in terms of physical security, logistics, theft, and especially corruption. Mobile technology, and in particular, mobile financial transfers, which I'll talk about in more specifics later, has the potential to overcome these transactional frictions and limit corruption opportunities. Our aim in this study is to assess the impacts of this new technology in the context of a large private sector firm in Afghanistan. But before I go into details of that, I'll provide you a little bit of setting about how we see this fitting in to both an academic and a policy dialogue that's been taking place for the last few years. So first, we've recognized an increasing focus on private enterprise development in low-income countries. The work of Chris Woodruff and his co-authors on savings constraint in the context of micro-enterprises has been a very early and exciting innovation in applying experiments within firms to the context of development economics. Also, earlier work by Dalbo and Rossi has brought our attention to the role in which corruption can play in limiting private sector development. Now, a second literature that's been referenced multiple times today, and we heard earlier from Ellie and Joe, along with Jake Shapiro, highlights the importance of governance in these conflict-affected and fragile states. We also see with USAID's 4-year plan released last year, or the World Development Report out of the World Bank last year, an increasing focus on the importance of conflict-affected countries. Last, some motivation comes from the particular policy challenge of preparing for transition in Afghanistan. Just this week, we read in the newspapers about a new 10-year strategic partnership between the United States and the Afghan governments, designed to set the framework for cooperation after US and NATO forces hand over to the Afghan forces in 2014. Implicit within that dialogue has been a looming threat, which is the governance challenge within the Afghan government, and particularly issues of corruption which have the potential to bring deep destabilization in the coming years. Now, mobile salary payments have some exciting features, but first I'll give you a little bit of background about just cell phone penetration in Afghanistan. When I took my first trip to Afghanistan 10 years ago, there were literally 150 cell phones available in the country. Not 150,000, 150 cell phones available in 2002. Today, over half the population owns a cell phone, is an active subscriber, and 1 million and a growing number there are already registered for mobile financial transfers. The way a mobile financial transfer works is you receive an opportunity through a text message or a voice message to know that there's been a deposit made automatically to your account. That money is now available to you through multiple means. You can either go to a registered agent, this might be a shopkeeper in a local village for you, and cash out. You can transfer it to a family member all the way across the country, what might have before taken you a week or so off of work in terms of being able to make that transaction immediately. Or you can use it with a registered vendor as good as cash in some places. Now, in the firm context, and particularly think about the motivation about these cash-based salary payment systems, mobile salaries have the option, the possibility of overcoming some great constraints to the firm. Also, they could be a potential pathway to financial inclusion, where people don't trust banks. They may see mobile phones as an alternative, but we're exploring that through separate research. So now getting to exactly what we'll do. Our study is a randomized control trial experiment in the context of a large firm in Afghanistan that we're currently shortlisting candidates for. We'll be randomizing at the employee level enrollment in a mobile salary program. So half the employees of the firm, for example, will be brought on board to the mobile salary payment program immediately, while the other half are kept for a period of time, maybe 6 or 12 months, on the existing cash-based salary system. We'll be able to then measure impacts on leakage, human capital, and other economic behaviors, including savings and consumption. Our outcome measurement strategy uses complementary data sources, so randomized audits and mobile transaction records to take account of leakage differences between mobile salary payments and cash-based payments. Human resources and administrative records combined with structured activities to take stock of what's happening on the human capital development of these employees and how their performance and training is changing, as well as in-person and phone-based surveys and financial diaries. And in particular, I highlight phone-based surveys because they're a methodological contribution that in difficult environments like Afghanistan, being able to access a population continuously can be incredibly costly, as well as dangerous to enumerators. So exploring this new technology in the context of just research methods is exciting. Now, a few words about our team and our partners. We're very lucky to have benefited from SIGA's institutional support in the past. Joshua Blumenstock, who I highlighted before, completed a very exciting big data analytics analysis of Rwandan call level data. Mike Callan pulled off one of the most impressive experiments in recent years in a conflict zone, a randomized study of Afghan election monitoring. And we have on the private sector side, our partner in telecoms, who's helping us to select the partner firm for the implementation of this project, is the market leader. Roshan has over 5 million subscribers in Afghanistan, over 1,000 employees of its own, and national coverage. They were the first to implement this mobile money system in Afghanistan, though it's often taken off in other countries, of course, in 2008. Now, just some concluding thoughts. We're all very excited, I think, about technology's role in crucial development challenges. It becomes particularly salient now in the context of mobile money to think about how these new channels for development are opening up and what advantages there might be. I think it also behooves us to take a rigorous evidence-based approach to understanding where the pros and cons of these new technologies might be. In conflict settings with corruption and low levels of financial inclusion, the motivation for these sorts of new technologies in overcoming the development challenges facing either private enterprise or government bureaucracies are huge. And finally, I think we could all agree that Afghanistan deserves our attention as it goes through this crucial phase. We look forward to sharing with you what we've learned. Right now, this is obviously a very early project, a very ambitious project. We think it's an important one, and we hope that you'll come and find either Josh or I and provide some feedback and help us do it better. Thank you.